You're listening to the Plain Talking UK podcast, the UK-based podcast written by a passenger for anyone. And here are your hosts, Carla Stebbings, Matt Smith and Neville Bounds.
Well, hello and welcome to episode number 217 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. I'm Carl Stebbings, and joining me in the barn studio again this week is my co-host Matt Smith.
I know, it's very exciting. We might actually be in the new studio really soon.
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
I know me and Matt had a little stab at the new studio last night. We spent a few hours in there, didn't we, Matt?
We certainly did.
Doing various bits and pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. Busy lining the studio.
Lining the studio, yes, so it all looks nice and black.
Indeed, yes, absolutely. But we'll hopefully have a date to announce very shortly as to when we're going to use it for the first time. So anybody who lives locally will be welcome to come and join us for said ribbon cutting ceremony. I think we should do one of those. What do you reckon, Nev?
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to that. That'll be brilliant. Really good.
Indeed.
Really good.
So that is the voice of the awesome Neville Bounds. Welcome, Nev.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Hello, everybody. Been a very hectic week again over here, but glad it's the weekend. Looking forward to a good show. Plenty to pack in this week. And so, looking forward to it.
So it's the 18th of May. It's just gone past 7 p.m. And we're going to say a welcome to everyone who's joined us in the YouTube chat room this evening. Lane Street is in there. Graham Haley. We've got Armando is in the chat room as well. Richard Adams. Nico Riga is also in the chat room as well. Just scrolling up to the top to make sure I haven't missed anyone. Neville Bounds is in there. It's always good to have Nev in there.
The blue scanner of death. Yes, absolutely.
And Richard, did I say Richard King? Richard King is in there as well. And it's good to see you all in there, the usual family members in the chat room this evening.
Indeed. No, Auntie Liz has already given her apologies.
She has.
But I dare say she'll be watching us or catching up with us on playback. So hello, Auntie Liz, as well.
Oh, and hello, Jeff Braithwaite as well. He's just joined us in the chat room as well.
Good.
Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Timing is impeccable.
I know.
Always,
There's all the push notifications going around the world to let everyone know we're live.
Indeed.
But we've got loads of news to get through this week, and we've also got a second instalment from Nev for the Nev's passenger experience with Jan as well. So we've got that to look forward to. And I think, have we got another a piece from Pip this week?
We have indeed, yes, absolutely. A new segment from Pilot Pip that
the
we
first
sort of alluded to last week.
Yeah. So we've got that to look forward to as well. A little smidgering of military news as well. For all you military lovers, including a special story, a dam buster type story as well.
Oh, good, very appropriate. Well, it is the anniversary, it's 75th anniversary, isn't it, of the film, I believe.
I think the Lancaster's been doing the rounds around the UK, Nev,
is it?
I think this week, hasn't it?
Yes, I'm sure it was over my house, what seemed about 500 feet, but probably was a bit more than that. But you could hear it coming from several miles away, let me tell you.
You could hear it coming from space, yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And I'd like to thank as well Mr. Alan Bales, who will be joining us at the summer barbecue later on this year. But Alan gave me and Gemma a very nice air show on Sunday over the top of the house with his T51 Mustang, which was very nice to see. Got some great shots of him actually in the air. So thanks to you, Alan, for that air show. It's always nice to have your own private kind of air show in your back garden.
Indeed. Actually, as you've mentioned it, why don't we just sort of do a little plug for our barbecue meetup as we speak.
So don't forget, for those of you guys and girls who listen to the show who may be able to make your way over to where we are here on the east of England in the UK, to PTUK kind of territory, on the 18th of August this year, which is a Saturday, we're going to have our very first PTUK summer fly-in barbecue. This is going to be held at Seething Airfield, which is where we done a live show from last year. And the year before. Some of you may remember that one.
Do a lovely air show from there.
A very good air show. But they're not having one this year, unfortunately. Oh, no. But we're going to have a kind of our own kind of air show as such, but a barbecue. So we've got loads of people flying in, which is really great. And we've also got quite a few people from around the area hopefully going to come and see us. But if you want to come and join us for the barbecue on the 18th, what they got to do, Matt?
Basically, what we need you to register your interest, if you like. So please send us an email to podcast@plaintalkinguk.com. That's podcast@plaintalkinguk.com to register your interest in joining us. You don't have to fly in. You can drive as well. And if you get in touch with the show and you're interested, as I say, it's a little town called Seething, which is very close to the town of of Bungay, which is where we're actually broadcasting from at the moment. And that's roughly where the area is. If you need any further instructions, obviously make sure that you let us know, and we'll pass them on. But yes, 18th of August is going to be hopefully a really nice day, and our plan, if it all goes according to plan, is to do a live show from there. Nev, you're flying in, I believe.
Yes, Captain Al is picking me, and which actually she will be the real Mrs. Nev.
She will be the actual Mrs. Nev, yes.
The only slight snag is the amount of gear that I've told Al that I'm going to be bringing with me. So we probably will actually need a 747 freighter.
Right, good.
But I think we're okay. We've had some weight and balance discussions, and I've got to lose 2 stone.
Splendid. Right, okay. Just so you can bring all the gear with you that you want to bring. Excellent. Okay. Well, there's an incentive if ever you needed one.
So let's hope the weather is good, because it's the one thing that's going to mess it up, isn't it? If the weather goes bad. But actually, second week of August, I think we've got a reasonable chance, haven't we?
Yes, fingers crossed. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the great things about Seething, which is one of the motivations for choosing it there, is because it's all tarmac as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a good runway.
So it's got a good runway for people to come in and out of. So you haven't got to worry about boggy grass at least. Which
actually, I know who we have got in the chat room. We've got Armando. He might fly in. You never know,
might,
Armando.
Yes,
if you're not busy on the 18th of August,
yes, absolutely.
For the
and
barbecue.
if you are busy, then cancel all your plans immediately. Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
And also we've got David Corston, who's in the chat room. Hello, David. He's one of our previous guests on the show, so I hope you're well. And
one of only 2 people to make it to 100.
I know. Anyway. And Jenny Parkinson, greetings from Rome.
Jenny,
she says.
Do you know what? I am so looking forward to, as I say, if you're not aware already, I'm actually having a little trip over to Rome, 4th, 5th, and 6th of June. And I'm meeting up also, hopefully, obviously, with the lovely Jenny, who's sort of agreed to come and sort of help us sort of get around Rome, but also the legendary, and I do stress legendary, the legendary Sir Grant of McHerron is flying into Rome, which is actually the reason why myself and Owen are flying out there. So really looking forward to sort of meeting up with him, because I mean we've chatted to Grant loads, and we've all spoken to him on the phone, and obviously he's been a guest on the show, but actually to be in the same room with the legendary
and poke and prod him
Sir Grant, I know, absolutely. I will make sure he's real and not a figment of everyone's imagination.
Hologram.
Yeah, absolutely. So really looking forward to that. So 4th, 5th and 6th of June. If anybody is in the you're right there.
Yeah.
So everybody is. Sorry, I'll finish. Shall I? Anyone that's in Rome, please do get in touch. Again, podcast at planetalkinguk.com. And as I say, 4th, 5th, and 6th, myself and Owen and Jenny hopefully will be about.
Hello, Andrew Hall. Andrew's in the chat room. He's a member at Seething. So, Andrew, perhaps you might want to come and see us at the barbecue as well.
Yeah, do, please. Absolutely do, yeah.
Armando has actually said in the chat room that he might well do a formation PA-28 fly-in alongside you, Nev.
Ah, very good, yes.
Yes, I mean, I think we'll probably be clean out of fuel by the time we get there. We'll definitely be on minimum fuel with the weight we're carrying.
Won't have any time to faff around. Yeah,
you'll have to get a glider, Nev, and perhaps
we might end up being one if we're not careful.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen, Sir Nev. Oh no!
Honestly.
Okay, shall we get on with some aviation news?
I know. I'm just sitting here, literally reading the chat room's comments. Okay. I think they're brilliant.
Okay. Yeah. Can we concentrate on the show?
Okay,
is that all right?
Okay. So we are going to start the show then, as we do each week, with our rundown of the weekly news from around the world and the UK. So if you're ready, Matt,
always,
and if you're ready, Nev,
yes,
let's go. So, kicking off this week's first news story, this is breaking news this evening, sad news. This has actually been picked up. I picked the story off the Aviation Herald because it's probably the best place we can go to get information on what's happened this evening. But apparently an incident has happened in Havana. A blue Panorama Boeing 737-400, which was flying on behalf of Cubana de Aviation and performing flight CU-972 from Havana to Holguin in Cuba, with 104 people on board, lost height shortly after takeoff and burst into flames. Emergency services are in the process of responding, and not many further details are known. The flight which was been operating various different flights during the day, was in Havana, and the Cuban media reports say that the Blue Panorama was being leased by Cubana de Aviation, and as I said, crashed shortly after takeoff. Matt's got some pictures there, which are, for those of you in the YouTube chat room, you could see online. Very sad news indeed. But I looked up Blue Panorama, and they are actually headquartered in Fiumicino in Rome, in Italy, and they have a fleet size of 12. They've got actually got 3 of these 737-400s. They've also got some newer -800s and a 767 as well. But very sad news indeed. We haven't got any more information on what could have possibly happened there. But
we'll, as I say, we'll follow that story during the show, and yes, all being well, we'll come back to you perhaps with an update before we finish tonight. But yeah, very sad news to start off with. But
moving on this story then is on the express.co.uk website, and this could be very good news for a certain host who's not in here the studio with us, but he's on the Google Hangouts there with us tonight. So Nev, this is for you. Virgin Atlantic flights and their airline launches its first London Heathrow to Las Vegas service. Ooh. So British holidaymakers eyeing up a holiday to Las Vegas will soon be able to fly from London Heathrow with Virgin Atlantic. The airline giant has launched a new route from to the Mojave Desert, with flights taking off from the 31st of March 2019. Tickets are set to go on sale on the 19th of May 2018, with fares starting at £369 per seat. At present, only one departure time is offered, with flights leaving London at 12:40 p.m. and then Las Vegas at 19:05. Shai Weiss, Chief Commercial Officer for Virgin, said the new services have been timed to offer convenient onward connections for UK and US customers, and features our award-winning service and 3-course meal and in-flight entertainment on every flight. The long-haul airline has also added a second daily Boston service and reintroduced its seasonal flights to Barbados. This marks the only direct connection between Heathrow and the Caribbean island. The Boston service will kickstart from the 31st of March 2019, with flights departing London at 20:30 hours and Boston at 0:30 hours. Fares will start at £313. Cheap. Trips to Barbados operating during the island's dry season between the 11th of December and the 19th of February 2019, with fares starting at £554. Not bad again. John Holland-Kay, CEO at Heathrow, said Virgin Atlantic would also be launching a second daily service to Johannesburg in October this year. Now, Nev, you're off to Vegas very soon, aren't you? But you're obviously flying Nev Air, aren't you?
Yes, and very expensive economy ticket it was as well. Nearly £1,000 from Heathrow to Las Vegas directly, but it's the only service that there is. But also look at this Virgin thing as well. The prices look very attractive. Let's hope they've got some aircraft that are serviceable, because with those Trent 1000 engines being looked at, I know this is next year, but I hope they get everything together by then, because that could be a bit of a problem. But yeah, be good actually to give BA a bit of competition on that route, because there's only BA that does direct from Heathrow to Las Vegas. There's a Gatwick 777 service, but there's a 74 which I'm going on in a couple of weeks' time. So all competition is always welcome on that route, definitely.
Well, and especially, to be brutally honest, especially involving Virgin, which I think is great news for the consumer, really, because they're not known for getting things wrong, are they? And it may perhaps buck BA's ideas up, to be frank.
I'll tell you what, over the last few months we've been running various stories on different long-haul flights and airlines and stuff. Do you know, and if you do look hard enough now, you can find some bargain flights.
Yeah, you can.
Flights,
yeah, definitely. There's no two ways about it.
If you're not worried about travelling in economy, you can find some cheap flights. Absolutely. But Nev, are you not hoping to possibly grasp an upgrade possibly on your flight?
I'll see how we get on. I've got my silver status again, just been renewed for the next year. So we'll see, but just looking at the availability in business class and in the premium economy sections, chock a block at the moment. So I don't know how they're going to get on with that. But the prices are just eye-watering. I mean, I know I have booked it a little bit late, but the premium economy fare was $2,500, and the business fare was £4,000. It's just absolutely horrific. So yeah, we'll have to see. But of course they can, because I'm going at a time when there's a very busy convention, and they know that they can fill every seat on the plane, so they don't need to discount it. They don't need to upgrade people necessarily. So we'll see how we get on. But yes, I'm not expecting any favours.
Perhaps you should play the PTUK card, Nev.
Yeah, I must get some of those printed actually, and I can just flash it at the operative when I go.
We'll yes, and some business cards, Nev. That's the way. Yeah. We'll post some ads to you immediately. Yes, that'll be the answer.
So moving on to the next story then. And Matt, it's obviously a special one, just for you.
Yes, indeed. Now, viewers and listeners in the UK will be very familiar with this particular fellow. It's a chap. It's the Money Saving Expert website, which Martin Lewis is very famous for being very good at. Let's be honest. But this particular story involving Ryanair, obviously, because it is story number 2, and the headline is Ryanair to cut free check-in window. Get it wrong, and you'll be charged £55 a seat. Budget airline Ryanair is reducing the window in which you can check in for free from 4 days before flights to just 2 days from Wednesday the 13th of June. Customers who don't pay to reserve a seat will only be able to check in online from 48 hours to 2 hours before pre-departure. And if you don't check in, sorry, my computer is trying to do a Windows update. I do apologise. And if you don't check in during this window, you'll be charged a hefty £55 per person fee to do so at the airport. But if you do buy a seat reservation, which costs from £4 upwards, you'll be able to check in from 60 days before your departure. The change applies to all flights from the 13th of June, both new bookings and existing reservations. So how is Ryanair check-in changing? At the moment, you can check in for free up to 96 hours in advance. So you're flying at 8. So if you're flying at 8 p.m. on Friday, you can check in any time after 8 p.m. on Monday. From the 13th of June, the free check-in window is being cut down to just 48 hours. So you won't be able to check in until 8 p.m. on the Wednesday. The change means that if you don't want to pay for the reservation, you'll have a much narrower window to remember to check in or online via Ryanair's app. I won't read any further because essentially it's sort of repeating itself in that paragraph. But one thing that I will mention, though, it says because new and existing bookings are being affected. So if you have a flight booked with Ryanair and you're departing after that date, what was it, the 14th? The 13th of June. Yeah. Please take note. As above, all new bookings and existing reservations are affected. Unfortunately, Ryanair says that if you've booked a flight for after the 13th of June and still want to fly and don't want to pay for a seat reservation, there's nothing you can do about the shorter check-in time. However, if you're really unhappy and want to cancel your flight, Ryanair says you can do so penalty-free and get a full refund. Be wary of this, though, as prices for alternative flights may have changed since you booked. If you're thinking of cancelling, it's best to check prices elsewhere before doing so. If you want to cancel, Ryanair says that you must notify it by Saturday the 19th of May. You can do this by calling its customer service team, 0871 246 0000. So, yeah, basically, I mean, I would say from my own experience, actually, if you have got an Android or Apple phone, make sure you just install the Ryanair app, and then you can do it using the hotel Wi-Fi if necessary. So, I mean, I suppose it's an inconvenience thing, but it's not really that big as long as you don't forget. I mean, it's not really a big thing these days, is it?
It's safe to say that all our listeners are all very experts when it comes to booking in, checking in, and doing their stuff in bits and pieces online. Yeah. And I think we all know when we can check in, and we all go online, get it done straight away. Yep. And you're ready to rock and roll. Yeah. I don't think there's many people who forget to do. No, I don't think
so. I mean, but it's more those who the ones most likely to get caught out, of course, are those who are who have already made their booking for a flight that's after the 13th of June, and those are the people who may get caught out, of course. But any thoughts, Nev?
No, none whatsoever. But no, I think it's quite. The apps are quite good, aren't they? So
I agree.
And they do keep you up to date. And if there's a
Yeah.
alert or a warning or something like that, they're pretty good at that kind of thing.
I agree.
So moving on to the next story then, Nev, and it's obviously a special one for you. And this is also a very special story in regards to something that's happening here in the UK this weekend.
Oh,
It is,
no,
and
really?
I don't know how they've managed to squeeze the royal wedding story into a BA story, but people.com have managed it.
Well
and,
done.
It says that British Airways will be celebrating at 30,000 feet during the royal wedding.
Oi, oi.
Don't know how they know what altitude it's going to be flying at.
No, indeed.
But it says a flight from London to Toronto on Saturday will be accrued exclusively by employees named Harry and Meghan, the airline said in a press release. The flight, which is BA93, I have actually been on BA93 when I went to see Auntie Liz in Toronto, will depart from Heathrow Airport at 1:10 p.m, about an hour after Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's ceremony, and head to Markle's adopted hometown of Toronto, where she filmed Suits, and the couple made their first public appearance. The crew of 10 will include 2 Harrys, 7 Meghans, and one Meghan. Megan Horsley, British Airways customer service manager, will lead the team on board. Harry and Meghan's relationship started across the Atlantic, so it seems fitting for all of us to take off to Toronto on their special day, says Horsley. Adding, I've flown with another Meghan once or twice before, but never 7, so we might have to call each other by our surnames during this very special flight. Everyone on board will receive a personal bottle of champagne and an individual wedding cake. Passengers named Harry and Meghan will also get a special treat from the airline. Any customer departing from Terminal 5 on the big day, who is called Harry, Meghan, or Megan, spelled 2 different ways, and their travel companions will be invited to use the airline's first lounge, accessed through the exclusive first wing. BA's statement details. And all customers departing Heathrow on the big day will be treated to a traditional Victoria sponge cake in lemon and elderflower, the flavours of the royal couple's cake. But the tributes don't end after Saturday. Passengers on the airline's long-haul flights will be able to watch clips of wedding highlights and episodes of Suits, as well as documentaries and podcasts about Harry and Meghan's relationship and the location of the wedding, the historic Windsor Castle, throughout the month of May. Well, that's
it's very British.
They can out of it, isn't it? But yes, how jolly sweet of them.
Indeed. Although I was particularly fascinated by one of the images that I just put up there. There's a picture on the story that's got the like name badges of everyone, and I was just talking to Carlos while you were reading that Nev, the sort of like the badge that says it's the future talent crew Harry. That just sounds like somebody who's going for a night on the pull. If I'm honest with you, he's scouting for his favourite types. But anyway, there we are.
Actually, Tony S in the chat room said he's sick of hearing about this damn wedding.
I agree. Yes, absolutely. And I'm a royalist, and I'm still sick of hearing about the bloody thing.
Oh, anyway. Oh dear. But no, I think that's very. Obviously, there was always going to be something, I think, done by BA in regards to this.
Will you be watching it, Carlos? That's the question that I have to ask.
No.
Nev, will you be, making sure that you're sat in front of the television from the moment it starts to the moment?
No, I think I'll be cutting my lawn tomorrow.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I would normally watch it, to be honest, because I am a bit of a royalist, but I have quite a hectic schedule tomorrow involving some filming, so I won't be either. So, but I dare say they won't mind.
No.
I think they'll manage. I don't think it'll be the end of the wedding just because I'm not sat there watching it.
I'm quite upset, though, that the Royal Mail lost our invites, though.
I know. I was hoping to do a live show from Windsor, frankly, but that would have been fun.
Very upsetting.
Oh, mind you, I'll tell you what, all jokes aside, I would love to be in Windsor right now, because it would be broadcasting porn that essentially would be in Windsor about now. It's just like, the pictures that Nev very unkindly took of me when we were in the broadcast truck at the BV event in Birmingham was just harsh, frankly. What on earth would I be like in Windsor right now?
Yeah, lots of the American networks have come over, and the Australians as well.
They have,
absolutely incredible stuff down there.
Yeah, I love logistics like that. It's just amazing. Anyway, enough of the royal wedding. Moving on.
So the next story. Moving on swiftly on. This one is on the Channel News Asia website. This happened at the beginning of the week, or just on the after the weekend. And there's a video that goes with this, but the story. Most of you will have heard about the Turkish Airlines and the Asiana ding that happened. So this was the headlines: "An Asiana aircraft hits and slices off the stabilizer of a Turkish Airlines plane in Istanbul." So an Asiana aircraft bound for Incheon hit a stationary Turkish Airlines aircraft in Istanbul on Sunday, May the 13th. The Asiana Airbus A330 was carrying 222 passengers when it hit the stationary Turkish Airlines A321, slicing off the tip of the Turkish Airlines plane's vertical stabilizer. I think it was more than that. The collision resulted in a small fire on the Turkish Airlines plane, which was swiftly put out by the firemen that were rushed to the scene. No one was hurt in the incident, and they said that the Korean officials plan to send staff to Istanbul to investigate the incident. If the ministry finds the collision is Asiana's fault, the airline will face an administrative measure, the Korean Times reported a ministry official as saying. The video, which was posted on YouTube, which you'll be seeing now if you're watching the YouTube stream, if you can watch that, there we go. Look, that's definitely a bit of a ding. So the video, which
do you know, I don't think that's going to buff out.
I know. No. The video which appeared on the YouTube. There's also some pictures as well. I don't know when Matt had a chance to download those ones, but you can see the Asiana aircraft just having a little taxi pass there, and actually, I mean, literally just well.
That is a proper clout, isn't it? It's.
I think for any passenger sitting on board that Turkish Airlines Airbus, that must have been a bit unnerving, I think.
I'm assuming, obviously, said aircraft will now officially be a write-off. I mean, is that something you can easily
No, it's not written off. I mean, the story says the flight to Incheon was cancelled, funnily enough.
Really?
Passengers were offered hotel accommodation. Another aircraft from Incheon was sent to transport them to South Korea on Monday. And he's one of the people he spoke to said his sister was on board the Turkish Airlines plane. And they said that she's okay, and but I think they were fairly shook up by the whole experience. The plane wasn't fully parked, apparently, this says here in the report. Whether it was actually being pushed back or not, I'm not sure the Turkish airline aircraft was being pushed back, or whether it had been not pushed back properly. But I think this was a bit of an error. I mean, I would have to say the ground crew, the pushback crew, the crew that pushed back the aircraft with it, I think it might lay with them the blame. I
mean, something's gone terribly wrong.
Yeah,
there,
what do you reckon,
Nev?
I mean, you've seen the video, Nev.
Difficult to say whose fault that was, but if I was the A330 driver and I saw that there was some limited clearance on my right-hand side, I might have stuck the brakes on possibly. But of course, apart from the damage that you can see, there's obviously some damage probably to the APU and the exhaust and all the rest of it. Not the first time this has happened by any means. And I remember, was it Charles de Gaulle? There was an A380 dinged a MD-80 series aircraft and actually spun it round. Or it was actually maybe not an MD series, it was something smaller than that, maybe an Embraer. But this is the thing with the large wingspan of these aircraft and limited space available at the gates and on the apron area. You've got to be really careful with manoeuvring in these areas, and there is definitely limited clearance. So, but yeah, that could have been a lot worse, couldn't it? Absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's lucky there wasn't an explosion or something. Really, I mean, especially when they mention the word fire, that always makes you a bit nervous, doesn't it? That's just.
Yeah, Lane has said that there's no tug in the video with the Turkish aircraft. Very true. And also, Richard Adams has said that in the video that the Asiana aircraft was moving fairly swiftly on the taxiway.
Yeah, we're not going to back. I mean, I don't know. There is a possibility that may not be real time.
Yeah, because of the time of the video.
No, CCTV is a tricky one, isn't it? It's not always necessarily running at it might be 2 frames a second rather than 1, mightn't it, to be fair?
Well, we do have a very qualified pilot in the chat room. Jeff Felmuth is in the chat room. Jeff is saying that the 330 pilot should have stopped if the A321 tail was past the yellow line marking the taxiway versus gate area. And everyone agrees with him, But Tony S has pointed out there, you can see all the hydraulic oil down the side of that back there. But obviously at the back of the plane, as you quite rightly were saying, Matt, about the possibility of a fire. At the rear of the aircraft in the tail there, you've got the APU, which is obviously powered by fuel. So it could have been
a very, very nasty, very different story. We're very lucky that nothing happened there, really, aren't we?
So moving on to the next story, Matt, and another low-cost carrier story for you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was so busy faffing around with that. I haven't actually loaded the story yet. Bear with me 2 seconds. So sorry about this. It's the Reuters headline, is the website, sorry. And the headline is easyJet to help small number of pilots with the cost of training. Now, this is actually something we were talking about. Was it last week or the week before?
The week before, I think.
Absolutely. And we were saying that's one thing that they could probably do to help matters. Anyway, this is based out of Reuters in London, and the British budget airline easyJet has said that it will cut the cost of training for a small number of pilots as part of a drive to attract a more diverse range of people to fly its planes. So flight schools and airlines are moving to sponsor more courses or cut the cost of training amidst a global shortage of trained pilots. Newly qualified pilots who are chosen will have to pay €9,900, that's £8,648, for their so-called type rating course, with easyJet making up the balance of the bill, which is typically around about £30,000. That's frightening. That's genuine.
I thought it was a lot more than that, I have to say.
Really? Okay.
But it's basically the mortgage in real terms today.
Well, this is it. This is a scary thing. It is literally a mortgage. £30,000. My goodness me. Anyway, a type rating determines which type of plane a pilot can fly. A Boeing 737 or an Airbus A320 at Europe's low-cost carriers, Ryanair and easyJet, respectively, and is sought by pilots after they gain their airline transport license. easyJet said that the funding of up to 20 places for female or male pilots from different countries and backgrounds would help broaden the diversity of its pilots, building on an existing initiative to increase its number of female pilots. We're pleased to announce that we're part funding a small number of type ratings for pilots yet to get their big break in the commercial aviation world, the letter said. easyJet's bigger rival Ryanair announced funding help for new pilots to fly its planes after it cancelled flights last year due to a lack of standby pilots.
This is good news. It's definitely good news. I think
it's a step in the right direction.
It's a step in the right direction.
I think they could do more, personally.
You
know, if you want people to fly for you. I mean, like we were saying when we were talking about it, a couple of weeks ago, it's like literally, tie them into a contract where they have to work for you for 2 years or something like that, to get their money out of you, or, come up with a payback scheme or whatever. But so just help people get their type rating. I feel the airlines could still do more.
Anything to bring down the cost of learning to fly and for getting these for getting the type ratings especially and stuff, and that is good. Could help alleviate the pilot shortage for sure. Yeah,
agreed.
So moving on to the next story, and Nev, it's another BA story for you.
It is, and it's on the buyingbusinesstravel.com website, and it says that British Airways has signed up to the TSA pre-check program, which provides eligible passengers with faster security checks on flights from the US. Passengers who are accepted under the scheme can use fast-track security queues and do not need to remove shoes, light jackets or belts. Laptops and compliant liquids can also remain in the hand luggage. In March, TSA revealed that 93% of customers using PreCheck waited on average less than 5 minutes at security. BA will now be able to offer passengers flying from its US destinations both direct flights and those included in its code share agreements with American Airlines the ability to register for TSA PreCheck. The approval requires passengers to register for the Global Entry Program, which involves an interview, background check and fingerprint scan. And that's exactly what I did a few weeks ago at the American Embassy in London. I went there and applied for the global entry, which cost $100, and it's good for 5 years.
That's
you
quite
still
good.
need
That's
to have
quite
an
good
ESTA,
value,
though, as well. So, but the ESTA is only valid for 2 years, so that's a bit awkward. But talking to some of my chums that fly across the pond quite regularly, the global entry thing does make a difference in terms of the queues and all the rest of it. So I'm going to try that out for the first time in a couple of weeks' time when I go to Las Vegas. So,
Well, obviously, I'm sure you will report back, Nev. That's sounds very exciting, actually. It's, as I say, if you're travelling to the States,
exciting, but it's,
but it is though, because
all I'm doing is I'm trying to prevent the 2.5 to 3 hour queue when you get there, having just done a 10.5 hour flight with an 8 hour time difference.
In economy.
Yes, I know.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's harsh. But I think that anything that can be done to help that would be good. So the TSA pre-check thing is quite good. And I did that on the way back from Washington last time. So I had a business class ticket, and included in that was the TSA pre thing, which did work pretty well, I have to say. So we'll see how we get on.
Yeah, I look forward to an update, Nev. Actually, it's going to be interesting to see what your experience is afterwards. I mean, I know obviously when we've spoken to Dr. Steph, she rates it, doesn't she? She really does rate it as a way of gaining a faster access to the US.
So moving on to the next story, and this one is on the Bloomberg.com website. And we've been talking for so long now about all these poor 747s that are being retired and being flown out to the desert boneyards, to see out the last of their days. But it's good news. So the headline is Boeing 747s are back from the dead. So the Queen of the Skies seemed doomed to the desert boneyards, but package haulers are rushing to snap up the aging jumbo jets. A funny thing happened to an older generation of Boeing 747 jumbo jets on their way to the dusty oblivion in desert parking lots. Instead of being scrapped, the humpback planes are back in demand as the workhorses of global shipping. The booming trade is stoking the need for big, long-range jets to haul time-sensitive goods from Apple phones to China to fresh flowers grown in Latin America. Interest in the Boeing 747-400 freighter family was already rebounding last year, even as Delta Airlines and United Continental Holdings Incorporated hosted nostalgic farewell tours to mark the end of US passenger services on the 4-inch behemoth, nicknamed the Queen of the Skies. With Boeing's factory fresh models sold out through 2021, cargo carriers are snapping up jumbo freighters that were built from 1993 to 2009 if they can find them. It's tightened up, that's for sure, said William Flynn, Chief Executive Officer of Atlas Worldwide Cargo Holdings Incorporated, the world's largest operator of jumbo freighters. The lessor is in the process of adding 6 747-400 freighters to its fleet. There are a infinite number of aircraft, he said. The demand is strongest for used 747s originally built as freighters, since they have hinged noses that flip open to load oversized cargoes such as oil drilling equipment. Lease rates have rebounded for the aircraft, while the number of stored models has shrunk to the point where almost every airworthy aircraft is spoken for, according to George Dimitrov, head of valuations for Flight Ascend Consultancy. The resurgence has even started to extend to cargo hauliers converted from passenger jumbos, which are heavier and can load only via doors carved into the side, once written off as dead. The converted 747 freighters have shown new life over the last 9 months, Dimitrov says. While it's not quite a comeback, lease rates have climbed for the older models. One sign of renewed interest, we're seeing aircraft get D-checks that were in storage for a long time, that were thought to be going to be parted out, he said, using an industry term for heavy maintenance. The cost of typically more than $3 million per aircraft is an indication they'll fly again instead of being chopped up. To be sure, the revival involves a small subset of the 1,544 jumbos that have been flown away from Boeing's Seattle area factory since the 4-engine 747 debuted there in 1970. There's no sign of a similar resurgence for the brand new passenger versions of the 747-8 or Airbus's A380 Super Jumbo. A global trade war could snuff interest in the older freighters, so would a big increase in oil prices. If we get to $90 a barrel, actually I heard a news report that the oil's going up again, is going to start...
Surprise.
Starting to get really ugly for the 4-engine aircraft again, said Brian Postal, Vice President for Aircraft Acquisition at Unical Aviation Incorporated in San Bernardino, California, based as a supplier of aircraft parts and maintenance. A US benchmark exceeded $70 a barrel this month for the first time since 2014. Still, the recent trend reverses the steady stream of 747s that have headed to the boneyard in this decade. Airlines switching to long-range flying for more economical twin-engine models, and Boeing last year dropped the 747 from its long-term forecast for passenger planes. Package carriers parked early build freighters amid whipsawing fuel prices and prolonged air cargo slump. The total number of permanently retired or scrapped Boeing 747s more than doubled from 442 in 2010 to 890 this year, according to a Bloomberg intelligence analyst of Flight Ascend data. Storage is your slow march to death, Bloomberg's intelligence analyst George Ferguson said of the desert lots where old aircraft go to be raided for parts. But starting in mid-2016, air shipments started to rebound slowly and then in monthly leaps. United Parcel Services, or UPS, negotiated a freighter order that will keep the 747-8 assembly lines open for the next decade. Atlas Air started lining up 747-400 freighters for customers such as DHL Worldwide Express. The older models cost a small fraction of Boeing's $403.6 million list price for a 747-8 freighter. In fact, Chinese package carriers, SF Airlines, brought two of the youngest -400s for 320 million yuan, or $50 million last year online, with Taobao, China's biggest e-commerce platform. So it's hopefully looking to be quite good news for these poor old 747s that are in the desert. At least they're being brought back to life again in the guise of a freighter, because we all know that nowadays, air is king for moving large things. I mean, Amazon have their own aircraft now. And obviously the cargo carriers, I mean, there's so much cargo brought into even Stansted, London Stansted here in the UK. Yeah. A lot of cargo comes into there. But, it's good news.
Yeah. I wonder if somebody could take the next story for me. I've just got a bit of a technical glitch here. We're having some minor buffering issues at the moment, so apologies for that. It's not your end. It is actually occurring at this end, thanks to Windows 10 doing an update during the middle of the show. So,
that's so unusual, isn't it?
I know, indeed. So I'm currently looking into a way of turning that off while we're doing that. So if somebody else...
the IC. But anyway,
indeed.
I'll do the next one, shall I?
Okay, go on then. Yeah, please do.
So this is on the digitaltrends.com website, and it says that smart luggage maker Raiden has suddenly ceased operations.
Oh.
It's the second startup to fold in the wake of stricter rules put in place by airlines concerned about the safety of the bag's lithium-ion batteries. We've been there before, haven't we? American Airlines, Delta, and Alaska Airlines imposed new rules in January, saying that if the battery is built into a piece of smart luggage and cannot be removed, it won't be allowed onto the aircraft. United and Southwest Airlines followed suit a short time later. If the battery is removable and the smart luggage is heading to the hold, it needs to be separated from the luggage at check-in and taken into the cabin. Smart luggage offers a range of battery-powered tech that can include anything from GPS capability so that you don't lose it, to built-in digital scales so you don't exceed your weight limits, also into a motor that turns into a scooter so that you can whiz through the airport to your gate. I've never actually seen that, and if I did, I'd probably have to take a video of it.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to see one actually. Yeah.
It says, whilst their smart luggage does use removable batteries, the strict rules have made travellers more wary about purchasing such items, devastating what until recently was a steadily growing market. New York-based Raiden posted a message on its site this week explaining the situation. It said that all existing shipments have been processed for delivery, but it can no longer process returns, exchanges or repairs. Customers can still travel with their Raiden cases with the batteries simply removed as directed by each airline. The now defunct company said in its message, which also noted that its companion app will continue to pair with its smart bags. Focusing on the reason for its closure, Raiden said the changes in policies concerning batteries in luggage in December by all major airlines severely impacted the usefulness of our products and their value to our customers, our business performance, and ultimately the ability to continue operating. Raiden's demise comes just weeks after a similar outfit, New York-based Blue Smart, ceased operations. Blue Smart said the new rules imposed by airlines placed it in an irreversibly difficult financial and business situation. Due to the fire risk that comes with damaged or poorly made lithium-ion batteries, the power source had been a serious concern for airlines ever since the technology was introduced. The smart cases aren't the first gadget to be targeted by airlines either. In 2016, the US Department of Transportation banned Samsung's troubled Galaxy. I can't speak today. I'm sorry. Banned Samsung's troubled Galaxy Note 7 from being taken onto aircraft, and before that, the so-called hoverboards faced the same action after batteries inside a number of the personal transporters suddenly exploded. I don't know what these people think. We've had this lithium-ion problem for some time now, so it's not surprising for me as an amateur chap that these things aren't going to be allowed on board when they're connected.
Agreed.
So we've covered the stories, haven't we, Nev, for a while now about battery issues and stuff with either the kind of the what they call them, the chargers, the hand bricks, kind of charge bricks and stuff that people take on board. And I think these cases, these smart cases and stuff without the removable batteries were kind of doomed from the start. Do you think?
Yeah, I mean, or why not? As again has been alluded to by the legendary Tony S. He's saying, why couldn't they do it so that you could have sort of like alkaline batteries that you installed in it? So at least that wasn't going to be an issue. Like, I don't know. Great idea, obviously, that it can be fully recharged, etc. But I mean, it's always sad when they're a fascinating idea, but perhaps using lithium, they should really have known that these batteries were going to be a problem. Really, I suppose. Yeah.
And also, lithium-ion. I mean, they do charge fairly quickly, don't they? But of course, you do end up with a situation where they just regular alkaline batteries. In fact, actually, Richard King's just mentioned this in the chat room. There's not enough energy really in those in that kind of technology. But it's still some way to go. This whole lithium-ion battery technology will continue to be a problem for some time yet, and until they find something better.
Agreed. Yeah, it's it's a bit of a shame. Really is a bit of a shame.
It is when a company goes, like that. But there we go.
Yeah,
there'll be some new innovation soon, I think, no doubt. Do you want to take the next one, Matt? Or do you want
which one is it?
This one is this one's on the which.co.uk website.
No, can't find it.
No. So this one is on the which.co.uk website, and the headline: low-cost airline cancels flights due to lack of planes.
Oh, right.
So we've gone from pilots now. We're going to planes.
Okay.
So Primera Air has cancelled its maiden flight from Stansted to Toronto 15 days before it was due to take off. If the budget carrier had cancelled 1 day later, passengers would have been entitled to €600 compensation. The route is one of a number of new ultra-cheap transatlantic flights that the Icelandic carrier has launched in recent months. As well as routes to Spain, it already flies from Stansted and Birmingham to Boston and New York. The maiden flight from Stansted to Toronto was due to take off on the 31st of May, but this has now been pushed back to the 2nd of June. Flights will begin from Birmingham on the 23rd of June. A report in the May issue of Which magazine Travel found that one Primera Air flight from London, New York, or London to New York, cost just £376. That's not bad for the basic ticket, while rival Virgin Atlantic charged £630.
Lovely.
Even adding on the expensive extras that Primera offer to passengers, a standard chicken meal, for example, costs £30. Costs £30 for a chicken meal? Blimey. But it still only makes that £512. So, airline without planes. However, Which Travel has received a complaint from a member whose flight home from New York on the 23rd of April was delayed by 7 hours. She says that she was told by a member of staff at the airport that Primera Air's aircraft were not ready and therefore it was borrowing from other airlines. In a comment to the Independent, Primera Air blamed a delay of aircraft delivery from the manufacturer or for problems it has experienced. It seems amazing that an airline can start operating when it has no aircraft, she commented. She is in the process of claiming her compensation for her delayed flight, which should be €600. Primera Air is due to launch new routes this summer from Stansted to Crete on the 27th of July and Palma de Mallorca on the 28th of July and Washington on the 22nd of August. New routes are also being launched from Birmingham to Toronto, and we're going to go see Auntie Liz, shall we?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let's do that.
So Primera told the story company here that the delivery of the A321neo's aircraft have been delayed for several days, which has had an impact on our operations. We expect to receive the aircraft soon, and therefore it won't affect any of the scheduled flights. It also told the reporters that it does have 10 Boeing 737 aircraft and one A320neo. And if an airline cancels a flight with less than 2 weeks' notice, it has to pay compensation unless it can prove that the cancellation was caused by extraordinary circumstances. But blimey, you think they would? You wouldn't schedule a flight unless you got the planes to fly these flights, wouldn't you?
It would be nice to have seen a picture of the A321neo rather than the 737-800, which have no prospect whatsoever of going from Stansted to Toronto. But obviously, if it's not ready, they can't even take a picture, Rick.
No, apparently not.
No, they're going to have to go to Airbus and borrow one. Yeah, but there are ways though. There are companies out there. We have two in the UK, I think, who can at short notice you can. Call them
wet
up
lease
and wet lease a aircraft and crew.
Like literally ready to go.
Ready to go, yeah. So I'm surprised that rather than annoy countless people, they didn't just,
I don't suppose such a service is cheap though, and some of these low cost models perhaps wouldn't be able to justify the expense, if you see what I mean, maybe.
So moving on to the next story.
Yeah, the next story. This is on digital trends. No, it's not.
No. Aeronautics Online.
I give up. Right, so yes, so this is on aeronauticsonline.com. I'm going home. That's it, I quit. The headline is Engine Problems for Norwegian's 7... Is it... hang on, am I saying this right now?
Norwegian.
Is that right?
Norwegian.
Yeah.
Norwegian, yes,
like
okay.
Norway.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah. Not what do you normally say? You say something a bit weird, don't you?
Oh, shush, get on
okay, right, okay, sorry. Anyway, engine problems for Norwegian's 787s. The formidable growth of Norwegian Air Shuttle continues with a capacity of 36% in the first quarter of 2018, but problems with the engines on the Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft could affect its ambitious plans for 2018, the airline said. The airline made a loss of 46.2 million Norwegian krone, which is about £4.16 million in sterling, between January and March. A tiny figure compared to the, is it NOK? N-O-K?
That's it.
The 1.49 billion loss that they made, that's 134 million pounds loss in the same period of last year. But the result was positively affected by a financial gain from reclassification of the investment in Norwegian Finans holders of 1.9 billion. Okay, that's I don't know, like glass half full approach to solving the issue. Anyway, so the growth plans for 2018 could be hit by problems of a batch of Rolls-Royce Trent engines, which I think you saying when you saw some in Heathrow when you were so the parts are wearing out much faster than expected, and European and US safety regulators are imposing restrictions on the operations of the affected Dreamliner aircraft. There are in fact two engine issues, two parts of about 380 Rolls-Royce engines on Boeing 787s that have potentially serious problems. The Package C variants of the Rolls-Royce Trent 1000s are on some planes used by airlines including Air New Zealand, ANA, British Airways, Latam and Virgin Atlantic, as well as Norwegian. There's been concerns about corrosion of turbine blades towards the back of the engine since 2016, and a replacement program is in place. Rolls-Royce has said that extra checks on one of its planes' engines will add unexpected costs and cause further disruption for airlines. In an embarrassment for one of the UK's top engineering groups, the company said more inspections would be needed to tackle the problems with its Trent 1000 engines, which are used on Boeing's Dreamliner 787. The airline said Norwegian and several airlines worldwide have unfortunately been forced to conduct extraordinary inspections on a number of Boeing 787 Dreamliner aircraft due to the issues with the specified type of Rolls-Royce engines. This will affect our operations going forward, but it is too early to predict the scale of the issue. Norwegian has recently revealed to be in a possible acquisition target for IAG, the parent company of British Airways, which has brought a 4.6% share in the airline. The airline said it is also considering other expressions of interest. The Norwegian Board of Directors has established a steering committee and engaged financial and judicial advisors to review the situation, handle relevant inquiries, and to the safeguards of interests of all shareholders. The start of many future routes have been cancelled or postponed, like Milan Malpensa, Los Angeles, which was planned for next June. So it's not good news.
It's affecting many airlines. It's safe to say that.
I mean, it's not just Norwegian, is it? I mean,
BA, Virgin,
British Airways, Virgin. I mean, these are all big carriers, and it's a bit sad, really. I mean, hopefully they will get it solved quickly. Actually,
I'm going to ask Nev a question. Nev, you've got the story in front of you here, and there's a picture. That's top of this story of the Dreamliner, the Norwegian Dreamliner here, with a certain something extended below the belly there, which is something that's used in only when something's gone wrong. If you notice, Nev.
Let me just have a quick look at the story there, because it's actually come up on my phone. That's the RAT, isn't it?
Yes.
The ram air turbine. So that would assume that there's been a complete sort of hydraulic failure of some sort, or something weird. How odd to put it on a photograph like that. Very strange. Yes.
Yeah. It's a rat. It's a rat, Matt.
Yes.
Right. I mean, it's slightly less furry than I'm familiar. As a species.
It's kind of the wind turbines you see around here.
Yes, I have heard of them.
It's an incredibly smaller version of a wind turbine,
right?
But it supplies kind of a minimal power to all the aircraft systems and stuff if they should have an issue or something. Well, I just found it was a bit.
Perhaps
bit
they were
strange.
having issues.
Yeah, I just found it a bit strange. And a story about engine issues, and they've got a picture of this Norwegian aircraft.
Someone having some power problems.
Yeah,
a bit of artistic license there.
Yeah. Yes. So moving on. Anyway, moving on. The next story, and this one is was this me or
that would be Nev?
Nev.
Yes.
It's on Flight Global, and we like the Flight Global website. And this is an interesting story. It says that Europe's Safety Authority is cautioning operators that dark liveries can potentially result in parking collisions because visual docking systems might not be able to recognise the manoeuvring aircraft. The European Aviation Safety Agency has issued a bulletin advising airport operators that advanced docking and guidance systems could fail to identify an arriving aircraft. Its advisory follows a recent probe into a collision in which a parking aircraft's engine struck the passenger air bridge. The carrier involved in the collision, not named by EASA, had encountered similar problems owing to the dark colour of the aircraft, said the authority, and that such occurrences had happened elsewhere in the world. EASA says these events appear to involve more than one type of visual docking guidance system. Mitigating operational procedures have been put in place at some locations. However, there have been cases where the personnel involved in the docking procedure were not always informed of the already established mitigating measures, says EASA. Moreover, there seems to be cases of aerodrome operators and competent authorities that are not aware of this issue. EASA is recommending that airport operators determine whether their docking system could potentially suffer identification problems as a result of aircraft colour and ensure that operational procedures to cope with malfunction are clearly communicated to all personnel. Well, there's quite a few aircraft out there that are slightly
I was going to say Air New Zealand, their
their tail fin
livery
is black almost.
Well,
isn't
actually,
it?
no, the new livery, the new Air New Zealand livery, the whole fuselage of the aircraft is black.
Okay.
So that could prove slightly challenging. I think there are a few airlines out there who do. I'm trying to think now who have kind of an all black kind of fuselage colour, but yeah, you think the technology would kind of be able to get round that. I don't know how the sensors would work, but what do you reckon, Nev?
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? I wonder. Yes, you only sort of find these things out when the thing's in operation, because I'm sure the manufacturers never thought for one moment that when they built this system that dark-coloured aircraft would have this problem. So
Indeed,
yeah,
that is true. Yeah, that is very true.
So the next story is on Flight Global. And this is following on kind of thing from the Southwest incident a few weeks back. And the headline, Southwest launches fan blade tracking after April's engine failure. So Southwest Airlines are going to launch an internal system to track all of its engine fan blades by serial number following the in-flight failure of a CFM56 engine in April. The Dallas-based airline says there has never been a need to track fan blades that precisely, but it's rolling out an initiative as it hopes to prevent a repeat of the blade fatigue that was related to the 17th of April engine failure, which unfortunately killed one passenger. Southwest aims to have the internal tracking system set up shortly. Chief Operating Officer Mike van der Ven tells Flight Global at the airline shareholders meeting in Annapolis. Last week, the airline completed inspections on more than 35,000 fan blades.
Wow.
An effort that began in 2016 after a similar incident in August of that year, also involving a cracked fan blade. The carrier accelerated inspections of the remaining fan blades following the 17th of April incident. Chief Executive Gary Kelly says there were 0 findings from the inspections that were recently wrapped up, but says the airline removed a couple of dozen blades that were showing coated anomalies. These were sent back to CFM for further checks that will be more invasive beyond the airline's ultrasonic inspections, he adds. There is a more precise and more invasive step that can be taken if you find or if you can indeterminate results from ultrasonic inspections with slight discrepancies that are found, he says. This is an extra cautionary step that they're taking. Van der Ven says that about 20 to 30 blades were returned to CFM, but stresses that the coating anomalies could be simply due to wear and tear. The airline is also completing an audit of its records to ensure that it has inspected every fan blade that requires the checks. He says, what I want to be able to say is that every fan blade with more than 3,000 cycles has been inspected and is in a program to be inspected every 3,000 cycles, he said. The airline estimates it cancelled around 500 flights as a result of the engine inspections. And obviously this is a really good idea. It's getting to the kind of the root kind of issue that they have with some of the fan blades. But it's almost, Matt, like a kind of MOT for an engine.
Don't
kind
talk
of
to me
thing.
about the word MOT.
But
scary times are ahead if you're a diesel car owner here in the UK.
Oh, blimey. Shush, the TriStar vans, diesel.
Yes, yeah. No, you'll be all right because you haven't got one of those silly diesel particulate filters. So actually the rules don't change for you. But if you've got a new enough car that's got one of these stupid filters, anyway, it's got nothing to do with aviation. Sorry, you've just caught a nerve.
I know.
I'm afraid. Yeah.
But no, it's good. Obviously, this is good news. It's proactive. They're doing something to get to the situation sorted and resolved. So that's good.
Yeah, definitely.
So moving on to there's no more stories actually, but there is a refresh on the story that we started the show with, because the story has slightly changed. A little bit, actually.
Has it? Okay.
So we're going back to the Aviation Herald again for this. It's updated now. This was updated about 20 minutes ago. Okay. And the story on here that we said about the crash in Havana today, and a global airliners Damo Boeing 737-200. Which was flying on behalf of Cubana de Aviation, registration X-ray Alpha Uniform Mike Quebec, performing flight CU 972 from Havana to Holguin, Cuba. Had 104 passengers on board, lost height shortly after takeoff, burst into flames. Emergency services, as we said at the beginning of the show, are obviously still on scene. Cuban authorities confirmed that the accident, after the accident happened, there was quite a large, intense fire. The Cuba's Ministry of Transport have said that the aircraft belonged to global airliners Damo, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, based in Mexico. The airline has obviously posted on its website where the relatives can get hold of them. Cuban media has reported that a blue Panorama 737 leased by Cubana de Aviation, which has crashed, but obviously we've changed that. That's been updated since that particular story broke. But a 737-200. That's quite an old aircraft now, Nev. Pratt & Whitney JT8Ds.
Yeah, so I remember going on a Britannia, one of those, from Luton to Belfast, I think it was in the old days. And this was before all the hush kits were fitted and all the rest of it. They were particularly noisy aircraft.
They were.
And very smoky as well. So, but it could be all sorts of things. It could be engine failure. It could be flap settings. There's, what's the word? Weight and balance issues, all sorts of things. So obviously far too early, but clearly it's a devastating accident.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
So if that is the particular aircraft in question, which they've said in the report, that particular aircraft was actually 30 years old. First flew in 1988.
Right. Gosh, it's not that old then, really.
30 years old. It's for an aircraft. It's fairly old. I mean, if
but I mean the old 747s that Nev's off to Vegas, and I mean they're not that far.
They're getting on a bit.
They're getting on a bit. Yeah.
Indeed.
Early 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
But the aircraft had quite a few owners. Just looking here,
it?
It's had
Unloved.
It actually started off with Southwest, back in 1988. But it's had quite a few owners since then. But it's very sad news, and obviously you need to follow the various news streams to get up to date information on that.
No news as yet as to survivors and things.
One of the CNN reports has said that there could be possibly 3 passengers survived from that flight, but that's obviously could change. So it's very sad news indeed.
Watch this space. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll check in again before the end of the show. But
So that's where we bring the commercial news segment to a close. So as I said at the beginning of the show, we have got coming up next something very special. So we're going to hand things over to the legend that is Nev.
Yes, do you remember a couple of weeks ago I met a very nice chap called Jan Hubner at Terminal 5. He was off on one of his jaunts to Honolulu. And,
As you do.
He did promise me that when he got back, we would do a quick interview, which we did over Skype. You know how we strive for the best possible audio quality? I think we've come up slightly short on this occasion.
No.
But you can still hear what he's saying, but it wasn't the best connection. But anyway, he's got a very interesting story to tell, so let's have a listen. Hello and welcome to another Nev's Passenger Experience. Well, you may remember that a couple of weeks ago I met up with Jan Hubner at Heathrow's Terminal 5 as he was on his way to Honolulu on a plane spotting trip, all of it in first class. Well, Jan is now back in Berlin and we caught up earlier this week to have a chat about his flying experience and what he thought about the service that he received. His first sector was from New York's JFK airport, and I asked him what happened after we'd said goodbye at Heathrow.
After we said goodbye, I went to the check-in because my mobile app couldn't get me the boarding pass, which usually says there is something going on with your ticket. And I got the dreadful Quad S, which means special secondary security screening on flights to the US, where they do a little bit of in-depth security check. They go through your luggage and do the explosive swipes before you board the plane. So that's why you can't get the mobile boarding pass. You need to go to check-in. I was actually searched for explosives twice on that day at Heathrow. First, when I went through the normal security at the first wing, they did the explosive swipe, and then again when I got on the plane. Well, and from there on, it was quite nice experience. I have to say, I was very pleased. First off, the 747 BA flies is in real good shape for their age. I mean, they're 25 years old by now, I think. So they keep them quite well maintained. From the cabin, everything was pristine and nice, in good conditions, and I had a fantastic cabin crew. On the way out to New York, that was operated by what they call a mixed fleet. Very junior, but very nice French lady, Karine, from Alsace, looking after me. It was funny because I used to live just a couple of kilometers away in Basel a couple of years ago. So by the accent, I asked her where I come from, and she explained she was from Strasbourg. And I said, oh, I know the area quite well. I used to live around, and we had a nice chat and was great service. Food was excellent.
Now, you went first class, of course, didn't you?
Yeah.
And was that up to what you expected?
What I expected from the BA first experience, it was actually met my expectations. Yeah. Well, what I have to say, and to point out is, what I noticed since last year, BA is trying to exceed the expectations when it comes to the effort the cabin crew puts in, the personal touch. That was really nice. So they were always polite, always addressed you by name. You hadn't had an empty glass of water or wine or whatever for, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes. Somebody looked around the cabin and came for a refill. And that was actually nice, really nice service, well executed.
Very good. So that got you as far as New York. And then how did you get to your destination from there?
Well, I had 2 additional legs on American Airlines. One was the transcontinental, where they use Airbus A321s in a special configuration. So they have, and between the first 2 doors, they have, I think, 5 rows, 10 seats in first class. 1 seat, they're slightly angled to the windows, like in a 45-degree from the plane, or away from the aisle. There's only 1 seat per side, which is nice, and then they have a business class section, and I think only 70 seats in economy. JFK was a fantastic experience. I went to the lounge, had a shower, and then I heard an announcement on the PA system saying, "Mr. Hubner, please come to the reception desk." And I thought, well, you've got plenty of time to go to the plane. It's not even time for boarding now. And I went out, and a lady came the opposite way, and I said, "Are you Mr. Hubner?" I said, "Yes, I am. Could you please follow me? I'll get you to the aircraft." I said, "Actually, I know the way to the other concourse," and I was driven across the tarmac in an SUV.
Oh, very nice too. So,
then,
personal service. Wow.
Yeah, then up the stairs into the jetty and straight into the aircraft. And I met actually, it was the party yesterday. I met a guy from America. Asked him, "Is this the usual procedure?" And he said, there was something wrong. Actually, they only do that for their concierge key members. And well, that was a really cool treatment.
Yeah, very nice too. So that was great. And then what was the next leg that you took?
Well, I arrived the Transcon was fairly standard. I mean, you get a meal and 5 hours to sleep and to watch a movie. And I arrived in LA quite late, I think around midnight. Went to the airport hotel. It was in the Sheraton, I think, for a quick layover at 5 hours or so, and was on the Honolulu flight the next morning at 8 a.m. The downside there is you have to go through TSA again, and TSA, the security guys in the States, I have no idea what procedure they follow, because every airport, every state has a different one. And the one in LA is, from my experience, not the most pleasant one. They're quite rude and they are quite slow. So it took me, I think, 20 minutes to get through security, and that was priority lane.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, actually, 20 minutes by anybody's standard isn't too bad, is it, really?
No, it's not too bad. No.
Yeah, excellent. So then you did some plane spotting, didn't you, in Honolulu, which was the whole purpose of you going there. So tell us about that.
I had a room in there's a Best Western Airport Hotel, which is it's like half a mile from the main terminal, and it's like a 12-story building. And they gave me a room on the top floor, which was facing to the airport. And I brought my telephoto lens and had the chance to take some nice pictures. But the day after I arrived around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock on Saturday. The weather wasn't really nice, but the next morning, Sunday, was really beautiful weather, nice sunshine. Great light for plane spotting and taking pictures. And one thing I snapped was remember the TV series Magnum PI from the 80s with Tom Selleck.
Yep.
And that guy had a friend in the series, his friend TC, the one with the helicopter. That chopper flew by the hotel.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Great.
Well, that was just one day. I went downtown to bring some gifts for the woman, for the wife. In the afternoon, next morning, I had to fly back, and I arrived at Honolulu Airport, I think 6 o'clock in the morning for a 7 o'clock flight. There was only one security checkpoint open. Oh dear, that will take you at least half an hour with the amount of people there. Actually, no, that was the fastest one, because the TSA guys looked at us. Nothing comes out of your bag. Leave your shoes on, belts on. Just go through the metal detector. Fine. There you go. That was really quick. So that's why I said I have no idea what procedures they follow.
Yeah, they seem to make it up as they go along, don't they?
Yeah, and in California they found some. On the way back in Los Angeles, they found some gummy bears in my carry-on, which my colleagues gave me. It's like take some for the lonely night in the hotel. Maybe you want some. And they made a fuss out of it because that's this gel and you're not supposed to bring that, that. I said, that's not liquid.
Oh, dear. Yeah, and then so you, did you do the same on the reverse journey? Did you do the same routing on the way back as well?
Was the same routing. Given the fact that the transcontinental ones give you extra tier points in the BA program in Executive Club, which requirement for the requalification for gold.
Yeah.
So I could actually do the LA, Phoenix, Miami, New York hops just for the pleasure of flying and having additional takeoffs and landings, but that would give me less points. So I said, okay. And the product itself is really nice. Was from LA. I was on a red-eye flight, spent the evening in the fine dining area American Airlines have for their flagship lounge for the One World Emerald members and first-class passengers. They have a restaurant in Miami, JFK, and Los Angeles, which is run by a local catering service, and they are cooperating with a local restaurant, with one of the top-notch restaurants in the city. And you can go there and have a full-blown restaurant service dinner, and that was fantastic. I think I had half a lobster and all those nice things and cheese plate and a couple of glasses of wine. And I got on the plane, looked at the flight attendants while they were still boarding and said, can I just change into my pajamas now? should go ahead, and was the same I had on the flight out to LA on the Friday before. So I was in my pajamas, ready to go. There was some celebrity. The seat behind me was like a rap star in the States. I had no clue who it was. Like everybody in economy passed by, said, "Hey, high five, nice to see you, man, great." And when they finished boarding, I turned around and said, "Excuse my ignorance, do I have to know you?" It was just. And I snapped a picture from LA by night when we departed out, and then fell asleep. And when I got up, when I woke up, that was the moment when they said, "And final preparations for landing into JFK. Please put your seat in an upright position." I was just, "Oh!" And I'm still in my pajamas, and the flight attendant came around the aisle and collecting the service items. So I looked at her and said, "Couldn't you have woken me up a little earlier?" She looked at me and said, "I know you are fast. Just go to the bathroom now." And I went to the washroom, got on my day clothes, and when I got back into my seat, we were literally 100 feet above the ground. Like the moment the seatbelt clicked, the wheels touched the tarmac.
Yeah. Oh, that's cutting it a bit fine, wasn't it? But so overall, would you say that you really enjoyed all those amenities and those facilities that you had?
I did, and that's I'd say for people who are the listeners who don't get that treatment that often, there's actually the biggest luxury, I think, when you're on a long haul flight, especially when you have a connection. The biggest luxury I consider is having access to an airport lounge with a shower. Yeah. After 6 or 9 hours on a plane, when you go have a bathroom, have a hot shower, you just feel human again after that. Well, that gets you even it's like a discounted business class ticket, or if you are in a position that your company sends you around Europe for business quite often, when you have one of those magic cards that get you access, that's the biggest luxury. I don't need the real great catering for long haul, but the flatbed seats, they are what make the difference. It's a make or break. If you have 18 hours on a plane with 3 stops, I probably wouldn't do that in economy if I don't have to.
Well, Jan, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for telling us about your journey.
Thanks for getting back, taking the time. Thanks again for the great podcast. Have a great time.
He's one of the luckiest people in the world.
Can you imagine being able to just literally fly? Just the mere thought of flying first class just leaves me all excitable. I've got to be honest.
It's nice that he reports it, isn't it? Because obviously most of us have got absolutely no prospect whatsoever of ever flying in that class of travel. So it's really interesting to hear what his experiences are like. And as we were saying in the chat room just now, and I think Matthew Bunting Frame mentioned it as well, one of the nicest things on one of those very long haul sexes is to have a nice hot shower or a cold shower right at the end of it. It just freshens you up.
Just to freshen you up. And I mean, you would literally feel like you could get off the aeroplane well rested, get stuck into business, and I mean, just amazing. It's just and I think what was so amazing, it was the reason for doing his ship. He's basically doing it to do a little bit of plane spotting, which is just amazing. It's a wonderful way to spend your time, isn't it? I mean, God bless you.
We need to get Jan over to Farnborough this year.
We do, absolutely, yes.
Yes, he said he's going to try and come over, so we will see him there. So I said to him, I'm presuming you're flying in directly from Berlin in your Gulfstream 650 or something like that.
Yeah.
Straight into the airport.
Quite right, absolutely. Straight into Farnborough, absolutely. Yeah, indeed.
But he's going to be there, so we'll have a chat with him there. And it'll be great to see.
Really looking forward to Farnborough this year. It's going to be good fun. I did genuinely miss it last year, because it's biannually, isn't it? And I did genuinely miss it on the calendar. It has to be.
Lane has said that Matt might even like a 757 flight if he was in first class. Very true, Lane. He probably would like it if it was all first class. Yeah, you would.
Yeah, I don't know, because I really do hate that aircraft. So,
It's mean,
I hate it that much.
Anyway, moving on. We've got the first instalment from a new segment from Pilot Pip coming up in a bit. But first, we've got some military news stories to go through. So, if everyone's ready,
yes, we certainly are. Yeah.
Let's go. So the first news story on Flight Global, this one, and a few pictures as well, which Matt might pop up on the screen.
We'll see how he feels.
See how he feels. So U.S. Marine Corps takes delivery of the first CH-53K. So Sikorsky delivered its first of an expected 200 CH-53K heavy lift helicopters to the U.S. Marine Corps on the 16th of May, with the King Stallion due to achieve initial operational capability next year. To be stationed at the military, Corps Air Station New River, I think that's MCAS, Military Corps Air Station, I think it is, probably put right by the chat room, in New River, North Carolina. The lead example of the three-engined rotor aircraft will be used during a supportability test activity. US Marines will conduct a logistics assessment on the maintenance, sustainment and overall logistics support of the King Stallion, according to Sikorsky. The Lockheed Martin-owned company says there are over 18 additional aircraft in various stages of production already, with its second CH-53K due to be delivered in early 2019. It adds that it's preparing to commence production at its Stratford site in Connecticut this summer. The King Stallion fleet will replace the United States Marine Corps' CH-53Es, which have been in service since 1981. Fleets Analyzer shows 142 examples remaining in operational use. Sikorsky, their incoming model, has been demonstrated its ability to carry an underslung load weighing more than 16,300 kilos, or 37,000 pounds, 3 times that of the previous model, while its maximum speed is in excess of 200 knots. Potential export opportunities. Is that the phone, Matt?
It would be the phone. That would be America calling, but
potential export
hopefully
opportunities.
Charlotte will get it from home.
It's someone ordering a CH-53K. That's what it is.
Is it? Right, okay. It's more likely to be cards, actually, if I'm honest.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So potential export opportunities for the type include a German requirement to replace an aged inventory of CH-53G series transports. A King Stallion made its international debut at the International Berlin Air Show late last month, with Sikorsky facing competition from the Boeing CH-47 freighter Chinook, or the F Chinook. These helicopters are huge, it's safe to say. I remember seeing a Discovery documentary on the Stallion a few weeks back on Discovery, actually, on these, and these are massive helicopters, capable of lifting, real sort of big loads. But it's good to see that Sikorsky are still going very much well. So, so next story is for you, Matt.
Yes, and it's potentially a sort of an exciting story, really, because as the story will become clear, it's on the Air Force Times, and the headline is, "After tragic fatal crash, Air Force Thunderbirds to return to the sky," which is great news. So 6 weeks after suffering their first fatal crash in decades, the Air Force Thunderbirds are preparing to resume public performances. The US Air Force Air Demonstration Squadron, as the Thunderbirds are formally known, will appear at the Air Power over Hampton Roads show at Joint Base Langley Eustis in Virginia on the 19th of May and the 20th of May, according to a release on Monday. The Thunderbirds look forward to safely resuming public shows at Air Power over Hampton Roads, said Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Walsh, the Thunderbirds commander and lead pilot. "It's been challenging to get us to this point, but the team is resilient, focused and ready to get back to our mission of recruiting, retaining and inspiring." The Thunderbirds have not performed since Major Stephen Cajan Del Bagno died in an F-16 crash on the 4th of April at the Nevada Test and Training Range. Del Bagno of Valencia, California. Is it Valencia? Yeah, Valencia, California, was an experienced F-35A pilot in his first season with the Thunderbirds and flew its number 4 jet as slot pilot. His death was the first fatal mishap suffered by the Thunderbirds in 36 years, and the community mourned his death as they prepared to eventually resume performing. A former Thunderbird pilot, Major Nick Kraknick, said he's returned to the squadron to succeed Del Bagno as slot pilot. The Thunderbirds announced on the 26th of April 6 performances were cancelled following Del Bagno's death as the team recovered and then trained with Kragjack. So the Thunderbirds will travel to Langley Eustis earlier in the week for more practice time. We are extremely grateful for the support, faith and confidence of our senior Air Force leadership as we prepare to showcase our United States Air Force to the public once more, Walsh said. As we hit the road, we'll carry on our wingman's legacy with pride.
And if you take yourself over to the airforcetimes.com website, with that story there is a quite in-depth list of all the shows that the Thunderbirds are going to be attending this year, May right through to June, July, August, right through till the end of November, actually, beginning of November, where they'll be at the Florida Wings Over Homestead there. But yeah, take yourselves over there if you want more info. Indeed. So Nev, the last story, a bit of a dam bustery-esque kind of story, this one.
It is, and of course, military aviation. Well, you get all that information from the Mirror.co.uk.
Of course, you do, absolutely. Yes, it's my first port of call, obviously.
Well, it's a good story though, because it says the new dam busters will get into Britain within weeks. The Defence Secretary announced today the £150 million F-35 Lightning II jets will begin arriving at their UK base RAF Marham in Norfolk early next month. Captain Williamson confirmed. The legendary 617 Squadron of Lancaster bombers, famed for its daring bouncing bomb raids on the Ruhr Valley dams 75 years ago, has been revived to welcome the stealth fighters, the RAF's latest warplanes. And versions of the jets will eventually fly from the Queen Elizabeth class aircraft carriers. They're due to fly across the Atlantic from the US, supported by several refueling top-ups. William said, 75 years ago, the dam busters pushed the boundaries of what was possible. That same spirit of innovation continues today as the dam busters of today prepare to fly the world's most advanced fighter jet in the skies over the UK. And just like those Lancasters, which played such a vital role in the Second World War, the F-35B Lightning is based on Great British design, operating with futuristic technology to adapt to an increasingly dangerous world. The new 617 Squadron's commanding officer, Wing Commander John Butcher, said, "I have the great privilege of leading a jointly manned squadron made up of the best engineers, mission support personnel and pilots from the Royal Air Force and the Royal Navy." The original Dam Buster Squadron did not know what their mission was going to be until the last moment, yet they had to make sure that they were ready, and that is as true for us today. The spectrum of missions we can undertake on the F-35 will be huge, and we have to make sure we are ready to do whatever is asked for us. So that's a great story, isn't it? And
it is.
How far is Marham from you guys?
It's about 50 mile away from us, Nev. Yeah, it's as the crow flies. It's about an hour's drive from where we live here, so it's not far.
No,
so it's safe to say,
yeah.
I think we'll probably end up seeing a few of those round here, Matt.
Yeah,
I'd imagine in
can't
the sky.
Wait. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
Have
to dig the large lens out, I think, for
indeed. That's what she said. Indeed.
No, it's a great story, Nev. It's always nice to hear a squadron with such a good background, amazing background. 617 Squadron still very much in service.
It is.
So we bring that segment to a close, but we have got coming up for you next. It's a new segment from Pilot Pip, and it's kind of the Pip's pilot experience. So it's PPE, not to be confused with safety workwear and stuff, but
Right, okay, yes, indeed. So it is. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the legendary Pip onto the show.
Plane safety from the flight deck with pilot Pip.
Hi everybody, it's Pip here with a new segment. Rather than trying to do the safety from the flight deck segments, which were a little bit inconsistent, as you may have noticed, I'm going to be trying something new, and I'm going to be delivering a little bit of a diary segment, something that I'm calling Pip's Pilot Experience. So hopefully each week I'm just going to be telling you a little tale or a little story of what I've been up to and anything interesting that's happened in my previous few days of flying. So for this week, I've had, well, quite an interesting little week. It's been a cheeky monkey of a week, actually. I'm on currently day 4 of a 6-day trip. Long story short, but as it happens, I'm probably finishing today. But I started 4 days ago with a very interesting and unwanted experience. Something that doesn't happen to me very often at all. But I had a very early show at Luton Airport. I think it was meant to be about a 5 a.m. show, perhaps even a bit earlier. So I, being the good pilot that I am, the night before I packed my bag and I folded up all my stuff and put it away neatly, ready for the morning so I didn't have to spend too long getting ready. And set my alarm and went off for a nice early night, get my beauty sleeping, because Lord knows I need it. And then I woke up in the morning by the wife's alarm, and I thought, God, why is her alarm going off before mine? And of course it wasn't going off before mine, it was going off after mine. In fact, 2 hours after mine. Oh my God, I'd overslept by 2 hours. So I probably set a world record that morning from waking up to getting in the car and driving out of my driveway with something slightly less than 10 minutes. Managed to quickly run downstairs, have a shower, get my bags and get out the door. Frantically on the phone to people, apologising profusely. Luckily, it wasn't a passenger flight that morning. We were just positioning over to Munich, if memory serves. Anyhow, I arrived and stepped onto the aircraft 10 minutes after our scheduled departure time. So I was in a bit of a fluster that morning. Luckily, the guys have been great. They've got everything ready and we're ready to go. So I basically jumped in, we switched the thing off, a quick brief, and off we went. Now, it would have been nice if that was the end of the excitement that day, but it wasn't. So this was the fun part. We were out of Luton, across Kent and over the Channel, over towards the Belgium coast, enjoying the beautiful morning that it was, lovely sunny, calm morning, looking out the window, enjoying the view, when bing, we get a bing noise and look down and some yellow flashing lights, and our ICAS, our electronic crew alerting system, tells us that we have a bleed to leak. That's interesting, we say to ourselves. So what are we talking about? A bleed to leak? Well, the bleed system is that system, pneumatic system, that takes hot air from the engine, bleed air from the engine, and feeds it into the cabin for pressurization, for air conditioning, and also for the anti-icing system on the wings and the horizontal stabilizer. So this indication was telling us that we have a leak somewhere in the number 2 system, on the number 2 engine. Now, as far as abnormals and emergencies go, if we put it on a scale of 1 to 10 in seriousness, let's say if 1 is a broken fingernail and 10 is the engines have fallen off, well, a bleed leak probably registers at about a 3, maybe a 4, I would say. But it definitely has the potential to become a 6 or a 7. So what do? We follow all our training and checklists. We acknowledge the malfunction, we cancel the warning, we establish who's in control of the aircraft. Any memory items, well, no, not for this, it's only a yellow abnormal warning. So we go for the checklist and have a look through. And one of the really nice things on the Lemon is the electronic checklist, so we can dedicate one of the 3 screens, or even half of one of the 3 screens, to the checklist. So we go through, pull up the checklist, and we can start reading it out, and we can click it and it goes from white to green as we complete each item. And I think it's a really nice system because it keeps both of us very much in the loop Whereas before, if you're working off a paper QRH or checklist, then kind of one person's got it on his knee, and it's very difficult for the other guy to see exactly where you are on the checklist. So the checklist has us, first of all, turn off that bleed, so the number 2 system, check that the associated warnings for that comes up, to wait a few minutes to see if it settles down, and to see if the bleed to leak message extinguishes, which initially it did, which is a good thing. So if by shutting down the bleed system and the warning light extinguishes, that would indicate that we have isolated the leaking bleed air, because remember, this air is very, very hot air under high pressure, and the last thing you want is this hot air going into parts of the aeroplane where it shouldn't, where it might be a fire hazard. So that's a good thing, shutting down the bleed to system, and the warning goes out indicating that we've isolated the leak. Now, if it doesn't go out, then that indicates that the bleed is somewhere further downstream of the sensors, and potentially you've got a bigger issue. And if that's the case, then the checklist directs you in another direction, takes you off in another avenue, and it has you shut down the engine. Eventually, it has you make an emergency descent down to 10,000 feet. So that's where it all becomes a bit more complicated. But luckily, in this case, the message extinguished. So that's good. So we get onto the bat phone, onto the satellite phone, and we're going to talk to our maintenance department and our fleet manager. However, whilst we were on the phone, that same bleed to leak yellow message started flashing up again. It would flash up for a few seconds and then disappear. So that's kind of worrying now, because that perhaps potentially indicates that we've not isolated the leak and we've got this nasty hot high pressure air somewhere where it shouldn't. So then we're thinking, oh crikey, we're going to have to start making an emergency descent, or a rapid descent I should say, potentially putting on the oxygen masks. You know, we've still got the other bleed system, which is more than capable of maintaining pressurization and everything else, but you're now down to single bleed operations. But that light was a bit intermittent. It wasn't coming on and staying on. It was coming on for a few seconds and then going off. And then 5 minutes later, it would flash back up again. So it's not quite black and white as the checklist might lead you to believe. So eventually, having this light coming on and off and talking to the maintenance department, it was decided that we would actually divert to London Stansted Airport, where we have Embraer has maintenance facilities there. So that's what we did. And we left the aircraft there for the engineers to puzzle over it and figure out what went wrong. But I think that's quite a nice example, highlighting the fact that, you know, the checklists don't always cover every situation. You need to follow them, of course, but you've got to use a certain amount of common sense and airmanship and experience to decide what you're going to do when it doesn't exactly follow that nice numbered checklist leading you from point A to B and C, etc. So that left us in Stansted at like 6 a.m. and I thought, oh, well, that's, you know, despite the start to the day, the mad rush to get to the airport, that was actually a very short day. But oh no, they had us then get on a flight to Barcelona to pick up another aircraft. But not just any flight, a Ryanair flight. Now, this is a new thing for us. For the last 10, 11 years that I've been at SafeJets, we've not been allowed to fly with said airline, except in exceptional circumstances. Unless there's no other option, we're not allowed to fly with Ryanair. But that's changed just the other week, and our travel department, scheduling department, can now book us on Ryanair flights, which is a bit, not sure how I feel about that. Certainly no issues from a safety point of view. I've got absolutely no qualms with Ryanair and their operation from a safety point of view. I know their pilots are very well trained people and more than capable of doing the job. But you know what it's like with these super low-cost carriers, the customer service, the comfort and all the rest of it. So I worry slightly that sitting on Ryanair flights is going to become a regular occurrence. I hope not, touch wood. Now, so we picked up another aircraft, and the plan was another very early start the next day, which is very interesting for a couple of reasons. Mostly because it was pre 6 a.m. and we have this rule at work at SafeJets. It's a Portuguese rule, actually. doesn't come from EASA flight time limitations. It's a little add-on from the Portuguese ANAC, because our AOC is based in Portugal, that says if you have 2 consecutive starts before 5:59 a.m. or within the WOCL period, which stands for work outside circadian low, then you have to have 36 hours rest, including 2 local nights. So now us guys based in the UK, we tend to get bitten with that more often than the European guys, because we're an hour behind them, of course. So it looked like I was going to get double wockled, as we called it, which meant I would have to have at least a day plus 2 nights off. Now, I was quite happy about that, because our plan was having us overnight, or to finish the day in, I can't remember the name of the place, but somewhere in Turkey, a nice coastal town in Turkey. So I had visions of all-inclusive hotels with lovely beaches and lovely bronze-tanned girls in bikinis and all the rest of it. And I thought, ha-ha, Pip, you've struck gold here. But alas, as often is the case, the plan changed on short notice, and we actually ended up in Waterford in Ireland, which is not quite a nice beach in Turkey, is it? So we ended up having 36 hours off in Waterford, which is a lovely place. Somewhere I've never been before anyway. And we actually ended up having a very nice day, and we went off and played a nice round of golf, which is something I enjoy tremendously. I'm not sure you could say golf is what I do. I like to go out and hit a ball with a stick and sort of churn up the grass a bit and make some holes and divots in the fairways. I think it would be a stretch to describe what I do as playing golf, but I like to give it a go. So, you know, sometimes life works out in a very nice way. After a hectic and busy, unexpected start, I had a very relaxed and pleasurable finish to this tour. And now I've finished today, day 4, Friday in Luton. So I guess I'm probably going to head home a few days early, because I'm not needed anymore. So that's a bit of a win as far as I'm concerned. Hooray! So anyway, my little segment here has rambled on for long enough. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you've enjoyed it enough to want me to come back and do another one very soon. Until then, take care everybody, fly safe, and it's back to the boys in the studio.
Well, it's safe to say Pip's back.
Yes, he is. It's a long time since I've been referred to as a boy.
I know. Thank you for that, Pip.
Yeah, absolutely. Next week, please, would be great for the next one.
Yeah, with video as well. Get the GoPro.
Steady. Let's not push our luck there. Absolutely. But, yes.
No, it's nice to have you back on board again, Pip. Well done. Thank you for that.
Agreed.
And Steph's put it quite rightly there, PPE.
Yes,
yeah,
indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, very nice, Pip, yes.
Personal protective equipment.
Stop it.
I know.
That's not what it means in this context. Stop being horrible.
Oh, dear. So that we're going to start to wrap up the show now.
Yep.
And we're obviously going to say a big thanks again to Jan as well, to if you're listening, for your
very much so.
Awesome couple of segments there with Nev. And Nev, it'll be good, like I said, good to meet up with him possibly at Farnborough if he's going to come.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that, and looking forward to meeting lots of people there as well. I just can't believe it's 2 years since we were there last time.
I know, it's gone so fast, hasn't it?
It's flown, isn't it?
I sort of alluded when we were talking about this before. Actually, it's like when you think about what the sort of things we were getting up to when we went to Farnborough like 2 years ago, and the position that we, what we're doing now. I mean, first of all, we've gained like the most amazing co-host that is the Sir Legend of Boundsness.
Yes.
I mean, it's been an amazing whirlwind 2 years. I've done things that I never thought I would ever have been able to do, off the back of this wonderful enterprise.
No, it's been a really, really good few years, and it'll be nice to hopefully for those of you who listen not just to the YouTube stream, but obviously to those of you who listen to the downloadable show. If you download your audio and stuff and you're listening, it'd be great to see you all at Farnborough.
Yep.
Well, obviously we'll be there with our PTUK shirts on and stuff, so you will be able to see us there. But if you do want to grab yourself your own PTUK t-shirt, T-shirt. There are still some in our little stock room.
They are indeed.
And how can they get their hands on one of those, Matt?
Take yourself to our website, www.planetalkinguk.com. On there is a special page all about the I can't remember, is it store? I think it's called
store.
Yeah, click on the store button, and instructions on how to order your T-shirt are on there.
Yeah. So, Nev, what you got in the back burner for future NPE segments? Any?
Well, we've got a few which are almost ready to go. I spoke to Matt Caton the other day, so we had a good chat. Now, Matt, if you remember, was the very nice fellow that supplied all that great beer for us on the 200th show. That was absolutely superb. And I hadn't actually realised how much flying he does. So he's quite a regular flyer, and he likes the finer things in life as well. So he's been doing some, some premium economy and business class stuff as well. So I had a good old chat with him the other day. So that'll be ready to go for next week. So we'll look forward to hearing from him then.
Very much so.
Excellent.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, so don't forget, we'll be at Farnborough this year. And also, off the back of that, don't forget as well, in a few weeks' time on, it's next Sunday, isn't it, Nev?
Yes, Sunday week, we are off to Bruntingthorpe Airfield and to meet up with Neil. I think Neil Landmore will be there, and Carlos and I will be there doing some interviews, and I'll take my camera with me, and we should have a good time. Just, once again, hope the weather's nice. That's always
fingers crossed,
the good thing. But you never quite know what you're going to get this time of year. But
no, you don't.
I'm hoping it'll be nice. But we should become aware of some nice footage. But yeah, anyone that's around on the 27th,
that's it. Yeah.
Please come and join us. Look forward to seeing it. Actually, just from a personal point of view, on Tuesday of next week, which is the 22nd, I'm off to the RF Museum at Hendon to meet up with some of the APG folks down there. So I'm taking some recording gear down there. So again, if anybody is about on Tuesday of next week, look forward to seeing you down at Hendon.
That's it, Tony. Yeah, you're correct there. Week on Sunday, and hopefully, as Nev was saying, we'll get to see some of the listeners there at Bruntingthorpe. Yeah, it's the Cold War Jets Day, so they have the kind of ground runs a lot with some of the engines and stuff on the aircraft sort of fired up and stuff.
That's going to be loud, isn't it?
It's going to be loud.
Yes, absolutely. Air defenders maybe the way forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
And hopefully, Nev, we might get a chance to see that amazing Super Guppy that we were talking to Neil about a few weeks back. So that'd be great to see that up close and personal.
Yeah, lots of nice video footage of that, please, Sir Nev.
Yeah, definitely. We'll do that. Obviously we spoke about that breaking news story right
what you got, Nev?
For the show. Is there any update on that at all, Carlos?
Let's have a little look and see if we can find...
While he's doing that, as we are in the process of wrapping up the show, if you'd like to get in touch with the show, it is podcast@planetalkinguk.com. You'll find us on social media using the tag @planetalkinguk, and as I say, the website www.planetalkinguk.com. Pilot Pip, who you heard a moment ago, his show, he's just released a great episode actually entitled Keep Calm and Go Around, Plane Safety Podcast. That's www.planesafetypodcast.com.
So the latest update then, before we finish the show, on that breaking news story that we had earlier. This is on the BBC News and bbc.co.uk, and they're saying that more than 100 people have died. According to BBC, there are 3 survivors who are in critical condition in hospital. It just does say that the plane came down shortly after takeoff, crashing into a field. But obviously that is obviously an ongoing story. Very sad news indeed. Obviously anything to do with aviation, but
especially when people, passengers are involved. It's very, very sad.
So that is where we are going to bring episode 217 to a close. We're going to say a huge thank you to everyone who has joined us tonight in the live YouTube chat room. Thank you to all of you guys and girls in there. It's been great to see all the PTUK family in the live chat room. And don't forget, there is a certain other podcast happening this evening.
Very shortly.
Yes,
as soon as Steph gets home, basically. Yeah.
As soon as Dr. Steph gets home, APG are going to be starting their show, and I think it's safe to say we're gonna shut up shop and
go
pack
home
away
and
the
watch
studio
it. Yeah,
and
absolutely. Yeah, indeed. For those of you who like to follow the live show, we're not actually doing one next Friday. It's actually going to be, I think, did we say it was Saturday next week?
No, is it next Friday? Oh, I can't.
Yeah, it's definitely not next Friday because I'm working next Friday. So yeah,
the 25th.
Yeah, the 25th
Friday.
is, yes, that's correct, and I'm working. So
so we're going to do the 26th. Are we?
Is that okay with you, sir? He's looking at his calendar. Yes,
6, isn't it? Yes, in the evening.
Yes, that's right. We were going to do an evening, weren't we, for a change?
Yes, that's right. Yes, I really should have put that in my diary, shouldn't I? But yes, that works for me. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. Okay.
Just checking.
Yes.
Yes. Next Saturday evening, because that's obviously the day before me and Nev travel down to Brunty.
Right, yes. Yeah. We did. Yeah. We did have this chat before.
So
everybody's looking at me blankly like we have got the plot. So next week for a change, we're going to be doing a Saturday evening,
and the following week will be a Saturday as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, but anyway, more details about that will be coming up. So no live show if you are following the live shows. No live show on Friday the 25th. Sorry, it'll be on Saturday the 26th at 7 p.m. Is what we're going to aim for. So that's it.
So we're going to say good night and goodbye, and thanks to everyone again. Episode 217. It's been fun. Have a great weekend, whatever you're doing across the globe, and take care, everyone. And there
we are. Yes, everyone say goodbye. Goodbye.
And that's a wrap.